My family forced me to babysit their kids during our vacation. But this time I chose Italy instead. I'm 32, female, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the dependable one, the rock everyone leans on when times get tough. While my younger sisters Becky and Carrie chose the traditional path, marrying young, starting families, and settling into suburban life, I took a different route. I poured myself into my career at Preston and Associates, where I've spent the last decade climbing the corporate ladder with single-minded determination. My office became my second home, my colleagues my extended family. The corner office I earned through countless late nights and missed weekends became my sanctuary. Sure, I missed out on certain life experiences, the kind my sisters were quick to remind me about during family gatherings, but I was okay with that. Being the person everyone could count on felt like enough. Or at least, that's what I told myself during those quiet moments when doubt would creep in. It all started with what seemed like an innocent phone call on a Tuesday morning. I was at my desk, buried in quarterly reports and marketing projections, when Becky's name flashed across my phone screen. I almost let it go to voicemail. The Anderson account wasn't going to review itself, but family always came first. That was the rule. "Hey Ash, got a minute?" Her voice had that familiar excitement that usually preceded a favor. I'd heard it countless times before, when she needed help moving, when her car broke down, when she needed someone to watch Lucy on short notice. I balanced the phone between my ear and shoulder, still typing away at my keyboard. "Sure, what's up?" She launched into her pitch about Mom's upcoming 60th birthday. "We're planning something special," she bubbled, "and we need everyone to chip in." The way she said special made me pause my typing. I knew that tone, it usually meant expensive. When she named the amount, I nearly spilled my morning coffee all over my pristine, white desk calendar. It was more than I'd spent on my last vacation, which, admittedly, had been 3 years ago. A long weekend in Miami that I'd spent mostly answering work emails by the pool. But this was for Mom, and Mom had always been there for us. Without hesitation, I pulled up my banking app and transferred the money. "No problem," I said, trying to sound nonchalant about the significant dent in my savings. "Happy to help make Mom's birthday special." Then came the kicker. "Oh, and clear your schedule for that week," Becky added, her voice suspiciously casual. "Don't plan anything else." That should have been my first warning sign. Over the next few weeks, Becky kept calling with updates about the celebration, but whenever I asked for specific details, she dodged the question like a politician avoiding a scandal. "Still finalizing things," she'd say, or "it's a surprise." Something felt off, but I pushed the feeling aside. After all, this was family. What could go wrong? The truth finally came out during what was supposed to be a regular family dinner. The usual suspects were there, Mom and Dad, Aunt Jennifer with her perpetual look of mild disapproval, cousins Michael and Rachel with their spouses in tow. The dining room was filled with the familiar chaos of passing dishes and overlapping conversations. It felt normal, safe. Until it wasn't. As we were finishing up the main course, Mom's signature pot roast that she'd been making since we were kids, Becky cleared her throat with theatrical emphasis. The room fell quiet in a way that felt rehearsed, practiced. "We've arranged everything for Mom's birthday," she announced, beaming. "We're all spending a week at Mountain Pine Resort." The table erupted in excitement, everyone except me, because I hadn't missed the way they'd all exchanged glances before Becky's announcement, the subtle looks that passed between my sisters, the way Mom wouldn't quite meet my eyes. "Wait," I said, my voice sounding strange even to my own ears. "A resort? When did this happen?" The silence that followed was deafening. It wasn't the silence of surprise, but the heavy quiet of people waiting for the other shoe to drop. I looked around the table, at the faces of people I'd known my entire life, and suddenly felt like I was among strangers. "Well, honey," Mom finally said, her voice dripping with that special blend of guilt and manipulation that only mothers can perfect, "we need you to watch the kids while we're away." 5 kids. all under 7, while everyone else enjoyed a ski resort. Carrie's toddler Jason, who could barely walk without creating chaos. Becky's daughter Lucy, who had recently discovered the joy of finger painting on walls. Michael's twins Tom and Anna, who seemed to operate on some secret twin frequency that only they understood. And Rachel's son Pete, whose favorite game was how many things can I stuff into the DVD player before someone notices. You're so good with them, Mom added sweetly, as if she were offering me a gift rather than a sentence. They adore you. Then came the kicker from Carrie. You'll be bored there anyway. You don't have a husband or kids. You don't need a break from family life. The casual cruelty of that statement hit me like a physical blow. 10 years of being there for everyone, of dropping everything when they needed me, of rearranging my life to accommodate their emergencies, and this was how they saw me? As nothing more than convenient childcare? I stood up so abruptly my chair scraped against the hardwood floor, the sound harsh and jarring in the suddenly silent room. Without a word, I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, their voices fading behind me like a bad radio signal. That night, sitting alone in my apartment, watching city lights flicker through my window like distant stars, something shifted inside me. I'd spent so long being the reliable one, the responsible one, the one who always said yes. But at what cost? When was the last time someone had asked me what I wanted, what I needed? The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I acted without considering anyone else's feelings or schedules. I booked a ticket to Italy. No checking calendars, no asking permission, no guilt. For once, I was putting myself first. When the week of Mom's birthday arrived, I was sitting in a cafe in Rome, sipping the best espresso I'd ever tasted, when my phone started buzzing with increasingly frantic messages from my family. Where are you? This isn't funny, Ashley. The kids are asking for their aunt. You've ruined everything. Your mother is crying. I hope you're happy with yourself. The messages turned nasty quickly. Words like selfish, immature, ungrateful filled my screen. Even relatives I hadn't spoken to in months chimed in to express their disappointment. The family grapevine was working overtime, and I was the season's bitter harvest. I sent them one photo in response. Me, smiling in front of the Colosseum, with the caption deep in Italy trip, can't come to the phone. Then I turned off my phone, ordered another espresso, and watched the Roman sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. When I returned home a week later, they were waiting at my door like an intervention committee. The accusations flew thick and fast. How I'd ruined everything. How Becky had to stay home with all 5 kids because their husbands suddenly had important business. How Dad couldn't even ski properly because he was so upset. How Mom cried every night of what should have been her perfect birthday celebration. The more they ranted, the more absurd it all seemed, until suddenly I started laughing. They stared at me like I'd lost my mind, which only made me laugh harder. Don't you see how ridiculous this is? I asked, wiping tears from my eyes. You planned this entire trip without consulting me, took my money, told me to take time off work, and just assumed I'd fall in line with your plans. And now that everything fell apart because of your assumptions, I'm the villain. You've always helped before, Mom said, her voice small. You've never said no. That's exactly the problem, I replied. Because I always helped, you started taking advantage of me. You stopped seeing me as a daughter or sister and started seeing me as free childcare. You stopped considering my feelings, my plans, my life. That's not true, Becky protested, but her voice lacked conviction. Really? I challenged. Then why didn't you include me in the planning? Why didn't you ask if I wanted to go to the resort? Why did you just assume I'd be happy to stay behind with 5 children while everyone else celebrated? Mom's face hardened into an expression I'd never seen before. If that's how you feel, she said, her voice cold as winter, then perhaps I don't have a daughter named Ashley anymore. If that's what you want, Mom, I said quietly, then so be it. It's been 6 weeks since that confrontation. 6 weeks of silence, broken only by passive-aggressive social media posts about selfish people and toxic relationships. Mom writes about how some people only think about themselves. Becky posts photos of Lucy with captions about true family values. Carrie crafts long paragraphs about people who destroy family bonds with their selfishness. A few months ago, these posts would have devastated me. I would have spent hours crafting responses in my head, losing sleep over their words, wondering if maybe they were right. Now, I scroll past them with a small smile, recognizing them for what they are, attempts to control me through guilt and shame that no longer work. I've joined a book club that meets every Saturday morning. The first meeting felt strange, sitting in a coffee shop, knowing my phone wouldn't ring with a desperate plea from one of my sisters. I've booked another vacation for spring, a tour through Europe. I didn't have to check 5 other schedules or make sure it wouldn't conflict with someone else's needs. I just saw a good deal and took it. Sometimes, in quiet moments, I miss my nieces and nephews. Not as obligations or responsibilities, but as the sweet, funny little people they are. I hope that someday when they're older, they'll understand. Maybe they'll even recognize these same patterns in their own lives and choose differently. I still have Mom's emergency key. I should probably mail it back, but something stops me every time. Maybe part of me hopes they'll understand someday. That they'll see how their actions and expectations were unfair, how they took advantage of my love for them. That they'll realize family doesn't mean sacrificing yourself to meet everyone else's needs. I used to believe family meant everything. That bone-deep conviction was instilled in me from the moment I could understand what family meant, through countless Sunday dinners, holiday celebrations, and late-night conversations where my parents would remind us that blood was thicker than water. I believed, with every fiber of my being, that my family would always have my back, no matter what. But I'm not waiting for that day anymore. I'm not putting my life on hold, hoping for their approval or understanding. Yesterday, I quietly left the family group chat. No announcement, no explanation, no drama. Just one more obligation lifted, one more source of stress removed from my life. Some might call this selfish. My family certainly does. But I've learned there's a difference between being selfish and having self-respect. Sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do is step away from people who can't see your worth beyond what you can do for them. Family might mean everything, but it shouldn't cost you everything, especially not your sense of self.